Brittany Wallace hesitated in front of the sale shelves because she wasn't sure what she should buy that day. She thought, maybe I should buy a can of paté after all. The girl smiled as she thought of her beloved striped pet and how happy that gift would make her. Brittany went outside to get her cute cat Lola, but when she got there, she saw that a group of stray dogs were waiting for her. Lola has become an important part of the family since then and has always shown that she was willing to do anything for her owner. Although Brittany was having money problems, she always made sure to take good care of her pet and never hurt her, as any other human should behave with all the animals. The young woman walked to the store to get something for Lola to eat for dinner. Brittany was short on cash, so she bought her cat a carton of milk that the cat really liked. The girl was very upset when she got to the cashier and saw that she only had a few pieces of change on her. She put the milk carton on the cash register and started counting her money in silence. There was a short line behind the girl right away because the business was very busy that day with a lot of customers. It made her feel uncomfortable, but there was nothing else she could do. How long do I have to wait? Don't waste other people's times by coming to the store if you don't have money, the cashier said. Wait. I'll be right back. Just a few more cents, Brittany said in an embarrassed tone. The girl was punched on the elbow by a frustrated customer at that precise moment, causing the change to fly out of her hands and scatter around the grocery floor like raindrops of silver. So now we have to wait another half an hour for you? The cashier yelled in anger. Dorothy Parker was the grumpy cashier. She was mad that morning because she and her husband had a fight the night before and he came home drunk again. Not that that is a good excuse to act so rudely with her customers whatsoever. At the same time, Brittany became overcome with embarrassment as she frantically attempted to pick up the coins from the ground while other customers glanced at her with disapproval. Exactly at that moment, the director of the store entered the establishment and took a look at the angry crowd that had collected around the cashier. Dorothy, what's up with you? Are you having a hard time? The director asked in a calm voice. Tell me what's going on in here, Dorothy. Not that girl, Mr. Dawson. It's just this poor girl. It's hard for her to get her change, Dorothy, blushing with shame, said. She should be kicked out so she doesn't bother other people again. The cashier was shocked when the director didn't kick the girl out, but instead started picking up the change with her. Thanks, sir. You shouldn't have done that. I could have handled it myself, Brittany said in a low voice. You don't have to thank me, miss. No problem at all, Benjamin Dawson said as he picked up the change from the ground. The director didn't think it was wrong to help the poor girl in such a situation. It was the least someone could do. But after a few minutes, Mr. Dawson saw something on the girl's wrists that made him sweat right away. Brittany was wearing a gold bracelet that Benjamin Dawson knew exactly how much it was worth. Excuse me, miss. I'm sorry to bother you, but where did you get that bracelet? Then the director continued. Don't worry, if it doesn't belong to you, I won't call the police. My late mother wore this bracelet. The fact that she had died 3 years ago makes it very important to me. Why do you care so much about it? Brittany asked, looking all confused at the director. It was very surprising for the young woman when the director pretended not to have heard her last words and then asked someone on the staff to put together a big bag of groceries for him. Then, Benjamin Dawson, who was carrying the heavy bag, gave it to the girl, leaving her with not knowing what to say. No need, sir. I'm sorry. I don't have enough money to buy all of these groceries, Brittany said in a low voice. Please take it. It's a gift to make up for the trouble we caused you, Mr. Dawson said and gave the cashier woman a serious look. Benjamin then asked, How about you let me give you a ride home? He looked no more than 45 years old and could have been Brittany's confused father. I promise I won't try to invite myself over or ask you questions that will make you feel bad, he said slowly. Brittany replied with a smile and a nod of agreement. Ben found out on the way to Brittany's house that the girl had never met her father and that her mother had died 3 years before. The man first became suspicious when Brittany gave him her home address. However, Benjamin knew that random events like this didn't just happen in real life. But when Brittany said in passing that her mother's name was Susan Wallace, the director was so shocked that he could barely keep himself together. He was completely scared by Brittany's words. There is no way this could be a mistake. In particular, the bracelet makes it impossible for someone to get the wrong idea about me. I gave it to Suzanne myself not long before we broke up, Benjamin thought to himself as he drove past the Main Street house where he hadn't been in over 20 years. The young woman asked Benjamin Dawson to help her bring the bag of groceries inside, but he was still feeling uncertain. After the meeting, the director said goodbye politely and drove home, politely declining the offer to come in for a cup of tea. Benjamin knew that the girl's age made it very likely that she was his daughter, and this ridiculous idea made the director unable to move. He had broken up with Susan before she chose to be with someone else instead of Benjamin. Unfortunately, Susan chose to go with Benjamin's own brother 20 years ago, which is even worse. After this rather unusual occurrence, he had a falling out with his family and eventually moved to Boston. Furthermore, John cut ties with both his mother and his brother, and it is said that this was the start of a whole new life for him. The fact that Susan and his brother weren't married at the time meant that they could do whatever they wanted with their lives. Because of this, Benjamin couldn't say for sure if what Susan and his brother were doing could be called cheating. DNA check. Why did I not think of that before? Benjamin said in a low voice. I need to get something that belongs to Brittany and run the test. He was sure of himself, but in his heart, the successful businessman was already sure that the test result would prove that Brittany was his daughter. This made sense because Benjamin saw Brittany's facial features and personality traits as being very similar to his own from the first moment he met her. The clever plan was made by the director to steal something from Brittany's personal belongings without being seen. If the plan worked, it would clear up any questions that he was having in his head. This is why Benjamin started helping Brittany with her grocery shopping. A week after they met for the first time, he made Brittany an offer to work as a store manager. I don't even know how to thank you, Brittany said, feeling bad about herself. The girl didn't see her guest take her hairbrush and hide it in his shirt while she was in shock by his kind of offer and didn't notice what he was doing while she was not looking. Brittany, I don't need anything from you. It's just that you make me think of someone I used to be close to. This is why I want to help you, Benjamin said. Nearly 2 weeks passed while he waited for the results to be released. At the time Benjamin Dawson finally got his hands on the envelope with the medical research facility's stamp on it, he was pretty sure that he knew what would happen. You can only imagine how stunned the businessman was when he discovered that the official report stated that Brittany was not, in fact, his daughter. How is this possible? Why? But I felt like Brittany was my daughter, Benjamin whispered as he held the disgusting letter. It'll take the businessman at least 2 days to understand and think about the information he got. At that point, Benjamin chose to tell Brittany everything. As you might expect, the girl was shocked at first. Benjamin was stressed out and didn't know what to do, so he carefully put his arms around the girl's shaking shoulders. I'm going to think of you as my daughter from now on, even though you're not really my daughter. Ben said those things while tears were in his eyes. You are free to refer to me as your father and make use of all the privileges that this right grants you. The businessman looked tired, which showed that he was having a tough time making such an important choice. However, Benjamin was very tired from being by himself, and he really wished that someone would offer him a drink when he was older. He knew Brittany's mother was the woman he had loved so much in the past, even though Brittany wasn't his daughter. It looks like a lot of people who knew Benjamin thought that calling Brittany his daughter was a mistake and thought he made a hasty decision. Even though everything was going on, Benjamin Dawson couldn't get rid of the feeling that he had missed something very important. Over time, the man thought about it every day and came to the conclusion that he liked the idea of Brittany being known as his inheritress. It was also clear that the young woman had changed completely. She had become a confident, successful woman who made men turn their heads. One time, Benjamin was looking through old family photos with his adopted daughter and came across an old picture of his brother John. The fact that it was dated 20 years ago made the businessman think of the fact that Brittany's late mother dated both of her brothers at the same time. Benjamin wasn't able to really judge her because he was still a young man and was thought to be rash and impulsive. It's possible that I should still go see John. Benjamin kept holding the picture of his brother, who was only 3 years younger than him. He thought about how the last time they saw each other, they were both still going to the same school. In fact, the businessman couldn't remember the last time he talked to John, not even on the phone. This idea seemed very good to him. Since Benjamin had taken such a significant decision for himself, he decided to drive to Boston the following morning and remain committed to his decision. With little difficulty, the businessman was able to locate the residence he was looking for in a short amount of time. It appeared to be in a dreadful condition of decay and disrepair from the outside, and it made a terrible impression. "Is it possible that my brother is living in this wreck?" Benjamin asked himself with doubt in his voice. Even though the businessman knocked on the door, he heard someone shuffling steps almost right away. Benjamin was shocked when a crying woman dressed in black mourning clothes showed up at the door. The lady of the house asked, "Hello, sir. How may I help you?" Benjamin looked around for a moment before he said, "I'm looking for John Dawson. I'm his brother, though." The woman in the black dress covered her eyes with her hands as soon as she heard what the businessman said. She then started to cry. In the end, it turned out that John Dawson had died 6 months earlier from leukemia. But as he lay dying, the man wanted to ask his older brother for forgiveness more than anything in the world. He felt guilty in front of his brother, so he wanted to ask for forgiveness. In a sad turn of events, John Dawson had died 3 days before his birthday, so he couldn't reach his goal. Benjamin began to softly cry as soon as he became aware of this information. He leaned against the door and began to cry. Along with the fact that he knew he had forgiven his brother a very long time ago, he did not blame his brother. In an effort to calm down, Benjamin went up to late John's wife and asked her to give him something from his personal things. After visiting his brother's grave, the businessman went to the medical center to find out the answer to a question that had been bothering him for a long time. Again, the days seemed to go on forever, and they were full of fear and excitement as they waited for the test results. At the same time, the businessman was talking to his adopted daughter. During the whole conversation, he never brought up his trip to Boston. However, when Benjamin finally got the DNA test results, it was clear what the doctor had thought. Because of this, there is a 99.9% chance that John Dawson has always been Brittany Wallace's father. Benjamin read the note over and over again with tears in his eyes. Each time it made him more and more sure that his gut was telling him the truth and that Brittany was really a family member. For this reason, the businessman swore to himself that he would never leave his late brother's family and would do everything in his power to make sure they were happy.